Moving on to Group B, we'll do the same order again, winners, runners up, third, fourth. Okay, so obviously Group B winners was Germany. And you and I discussed Germany before in our preview, and we said that we think they'd be good if they do one thing. And they did that one thing that we were begging them to do, and look what happened.
Yeah.
Look what happened. They're just flying at the moment. I'm so happy for them.
Yeah, Germany, that's the thing. And again, counter, right? We talk about coaches being very frustrating. And when they don't do things that are obvious, it gets really frustrating because you're creating your own set of problems and you're making things a lot harder. And you have access to the solutions. That's to me, that part is what makes it so frustrating. On the flip side, we have to give a shout out when they get it right. When they do things where you're like, this makes sense. I see what you're doing. I like what you're doing. Things are rolling. And that, to me, that's Germany. And, I didn't 100% know what to expect from them in this tournament, but I've been delighted. They are fun to watch and they have a hellacious press. And I love watching it. I absolutely love watching this team go at it because it is very, very fun to watch them. So they were down for a little bit. Germany was down for a little bit, but they kind of reloaded, got some really dope young talent too. I'm really excited about so many young attackers they have on the team. I mean, honestly, if a team the route to my heart as a national team is dope young attackers. That's why I'm so critical of the U.S. women's national team because we have so many dope young attackers and I want to see them all flourish. And Germany has the same thing. A lot of dope. That ain't all they have because they're a much more complete team than that. And they've shown that. But, that quality up top, young, hungry, and they got Alexandra Pop back, scoring goals, the queen of the headers. Actually, I have one thing to say about, I'm not going to say it yet. I want you to go because I'm not going to say it yet because I thought it was absolutely hilarious what they did to Spain. But.
Okay. All right. So you talk about dope young attackers being the way to your heart. The way to my heart is two things: midfielders and goalkeepers. And Germany just said, there you go. Yeah. You weren't supporting us before? Here you go. Here's all your favorite things all together in one package. You better start supporting. We talked about how the one thing we really wanted Martina Voss-Tecklenburg to do was to keep Lena Oberdorf in midfield.
Yeah.
Guess what she did, André?
Yes.
Guess what she did?
Oberdorf is so damn good.
Oberdorf is in midfield.
So damn good.
It's basically balanced the whole team. Right? Because we always knew that they'd have great attackers, who's top, obviously. Scholler, who am I missing? Clara Bull, and all that, right? And then you've got at the back, you've got Froms in goal, you've got just talent all over the place, right? We always knew that Germany had that coming into the tournament, no matter what. We were just like, where is she going to play Oberdorf? Is she going to play in the back line, which we were hoping wasn't going to happen? Yeah. Or is she going to play in midfield, which we were hoping was going to happen? And that's exactly what it did. And the way it just kind of solidified all the problems I had with Germany, the way it just kind of calmed all the issues I had with Germany. The minute I realized that Oberdorf was going to be playing in midfield, I just kind of went, oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. And as you were talking about, coaches who do things that drive you crazy and you can see the obvious answer and they're not doing the obvious thing to address that. On the flip side, you have Voss-Tecklenburg, who went ahead and said, I know what my team is missing. I need balance in midfield.
Yeah.
How do I get that balance? I put Oberdorf in there, along with the Brits and with, who did she play with? I think she swapped her out a couple of times. It was the Brits and... Hold on a second. It wasn't always who I'm thinking. It wasn't always Nina McGould. It was someone else.
No, in the what was it in their last game in the Finland game?
Yeah,
I believe it was Dahlman.
Was it Dahlman? Yes.
Yeah, and then Lotvine as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I knew it wasn't always McGould. I knew someone else was swapping out with McGould, but it was usually the Brits, Oberdorf, and one of the others. That was the three in midfield. So when we talk about the first game that they played, which was against, Denmark, right? That was kind of like them laying down the mark for the tournament.
Yeah.
Them basically saying, listen up, everyone. You counted us out. here we are again. We are never far away. Anytime you think we're not going to do anything, back we come. Like someone, I can't remember who it was, but someone was like, Germany is like a football factory, right?
Yes.
Anytime you think that they don't have players anymore, up come this like 19-year-old super striker from nowhere, just coming right out of the machinery, right onto the field. And you're like, how are they doing this all the time? But like, that's my favorite thing about Germany, is that they not only do they understand how to keep creating the type of footballers that they want on their teams, which is both like tactical and technically adept, but they're also very good at knowing that when should we transition from older players to newer players. And it doesn't always go smoothly, but they always pick the right time to transition. Because when we think about it, if you look back at the 2019 World Cup, they were in transition at that point in time. And again, no one expected them to do a whole lot, but they went further than everyone thought they would. They really did. And it's only because they were in that transition phase that they didn't actually go all the way to the final, right? Whereas here, you can see that that transition is beginning to finally reach its final stages. And this is with a whole bunch of players that, like, for example, Leah Scholler, who's sitting on the bench at the moment. She's on the bench. This is a player who is lighting it up in the Frauen Bundesliga, and she's on the bench. But that's how good Germany has become. Like they can say, oh, you know what? If we're in dire straits, we can just bring on Leah Scholler. Why not? We can do that. But yeah, I just wanted to, circling back to my first point, which is midfielders and goalkeepers are always the way to my heart. So I've already talked about Oberdorf. And the next person I wanted to talk about was the goalkeeper, which is Merle France, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Been excellent.
Yeah. Genuinely just enjoyed watching her do her thing. Because it's not like, we always have this discussion, you know, in the Slack, in the group chat and stuff, that goalkeeping isn't just about the shot stopping.
Yeah.
It's not about, oh, can the goalkeeper pass out the back? Because that's what a lot of goalkeepers are allowed to do. And that's all physical traits, right? That's all physical traits that a goalkeeper should have if they want to be a starting goalkeeper on any team. The most important thing for me now when I look at goalkeepers is about their organization. How do they position not only themselves, but the backline in front of them?
Yeah.
And that, to me, is the difference between a good and great goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And when you're watching From's work, like if you ever take the time out to just kind of pull aside tape and say, or even just like watch, like, I don't know, first half or something with Germany against one of the people they faced in the group stages, and just watch her whenever the camera's on her. Just watch what she's doing, watch how she's organizing everyone. That's when you realize that Germany have like another great goalkeeper in the making. It's again insane how they just keep producing these great players at every position. But she has been excellent, and I'm hoping that she keeps being excellent because I want her to win goalkeeper of the tournament.
Yeah, I was gonna say the highest level of praise I can give her is that I am a massive, obviously I'm a Chelsea supporter, and I'm a massive Anne Katzenberger supporter. Like, I think she's excellent. Shot stopping, unreal. Genuinely, literally won the league for Chelsea. I believe it was last season. Had an incredible save and has helped Chelsea get beyond Manchester City with some incredible saves to win domestic cups. Like, she has had some absolutely unreal saves, and she's very good at reading. She has one play that I absolutely love where she basically baits a press from City and then throws the ball over it into midfield and sets a counter, springs a counter herself. I thought it was like, she's amazing. So to me, the fact that I'm not even like suggesting that she should start is the highest level of praise. Like, I think she's exceptional, but I'm also like, nah, this right here, you good. Like,
this is legit.
Legit, you got it.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say though about one of the things I've loved about this, like, I always look for like little mini storylines in tournaments because I think they're funny. And notice little silly things. So like, you remember in Spain, their opening match against Finland, they won 4-1, and I believe all 4 goals were headers. Yeah, and it was like, really, the Spain team is just gonna score headers, right? And then I loved the fact that, like, when Germany played Spain, Alexandra Popp came in and hit a header, and she was basically like, "No, you were only born, like, you only adopted the darkness, okay? Like, I was born in it, molded by it." Like, right? Like, she was like, "No, I do this." And that was it. And then Spain struggled and didn't score at all the entire game. And I thought, like, for me, I just love that. So, like, you mentioned it though, and I talked about the young attackers as well. Like, I mean, it was great to see Nicole Anyomi get a goal. That's incredible. That was awesome. That was really cool to see. Jules Brand, you mentioned Clara Bull. It's just amazing. Tavia Wasmuth, who comes in as well. Like, just so much energy. They have so many.
Can you imagine
players.
being Germany's opponent and like they're like thrashing you like 2-3-0, and then they decide, you know what, we're gonna bring on Pop, we're gonna bring on we're gonna bring on Schürrle, we're gonna bring on Brandt. Like, can you imagine being a defendant, being like looking over and being like, are you for real?
Yeah, exactly. That's I think that's a perfect summation of what you mean by like the factory, right? Yeah. Because that's the thing. Like, they have a dip, and then in order to reach that next level but still be able to compete, this is what you do. You make sure that your level, your initial standard, like, is high for your starting 11, but then there's not much drop when you bring in players, and that's something that's really hard to do on an international level, because it's just hard to have that talent pool and that depth. That's something that the U.S. Women's National Team does a lot, where like you think and you hope that a player coming on, but they have this young, very hungry, ultra talented player waiting to get on the pitch, and you're like, yeah. Okay, why aren't you starting? and there's like, and so they mix it up very well, and that's another thing I've appreciated about the coaching, is mixing it up very well, making sure players are still getting opportunities, and opportunities where they can feel integrated into the team and contribute. You know, whether it's assists, whether it's goal scoring, or winning the ball up high or something like that, whatever it is. They have a good system that's allowing the players to flourish. And I think it's giving them a lot of confidence. So to me, they've been one of the most fun teams to watch. I think England, of course, the way that they've been playing and the home crowds have been great. But to me, this Germany team, just the energy they play with, they're relentless. Yeah. They've been relentless, and it's been really fun.
Yeah. And then, so just to end off on Germany, I want to talk about Pop for just one quick second. I've watched Pop play for years, because I always used to follow Wolfsburg, right? I used to follow Wolfsburg, like, oh man, I think I first started watching Wolfsburg. Do you remember when Pino went to Lyon and they played Wolfsburg in the Champions League final? I think that was the first time I started watching Wolfsburg, and I was like, oh, I want to pay attention to this team. They seem fun. And like, that's how long I've been watching Pop play. It's kind of mad to think about. This is where she's like in the twilight of her career.
I know, right?
When you think about how she's evolved as a player, right? So we always love to joke and say Pop likes a header, Pop likes a yellow card. Yeah. So, but she's evolved from like this target striker to a midfielder, and then kind of like a hybrid of a false nine and a target nine.
Yeah.
Which is kind of mad to think about, right? It's
been really cool.
And it's a testament not just to, the coaches have kind of said, okay, this is where you are in your career, and this is where we feel you make the most, you'll have the most effect for the team. But it's a testament to her being like, okay, coach, I'll do it. Yeah. You need me to play midfield? Okay. You need me to play up top? Okay. You want me to come on as a sub? Okay. Like,
yeah.
And I think that kind of mentality from a veteran like her permeates right down through the squad, because they've got a lot of really young players, right? Yeah. So when they look up to her and say, hey, she's been there, done that, won it all kind of thing, and she's still willing to be like a super sub or like a sub or play like 5 minutes in a game, what's stopping me from having the same attitude? Yeah. So I just want to shout out Alexandra Pop, man, because she's we like to joke about her, but she's the real deal, man. Like, when she decides to hang up her boots, we missed in the game.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, next up, let's go to Spain. Let's talk about Spain. Let's talk about coaches who like to do things that frustrate us. And sometimes they surprise us in weird ways, but sometimes they surprise us. So Spain finished second after an interesting game against Finland, a thumping by Germany.
Yes.
And a very sketch win against Denmark right at the end.
Very, yes.
Right? And I'm going to start from back to front. So I'm going to start with the Denmark game, because as a Real Madrid fan, my heart was singing at halftime. I was like, oh, I was so happy, because not only did Athenia come on, who I've been begging Jorge Vilda to start from like day one. I've been like, what are we doing here? Get her on the field. But he also brought on Olga Carmona. He brought back Esther after basically putting her in the benching wilderness for whatever reason after the first game. And then he also brought on Marta Cardona, who is not with Madrid anymore. Sad here. But he brought her on as well to provide the width that Spain has been begging for since minute one of day one at this tournament. right? And the reason why I'm bringing those 4 players up is because when you see how they changed the game against Denmark, you kind of sit there and you go, why did it take this long to put these players in position to help your team?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? We talk about, for example, Olga Carmona, who came on for Leila Ouabi. And let's be completely honest about Leila, right? She's been a great servant for Spain, great servant for Barcelona, but she shouldn't be starting anymore for either team, right? And the fact that Rolfo replaced her as left back in Barcelona should tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Rolfo is not a left back.
No.
Not at all. But she got replaced by a new signing striker who came onto the team, right? Olga Carmona she's just as attacking as Leila is, right? But the difference between her and Leila is that she has recovery speed.
Yeah.
She has great recovery speed. So, and when you see her, like, for example, I'll give easy example that everyone probably saw. When Real Madrid played Barcelona, anytime she was on the ball, Barcelona was scared. Because they knew that if she attacks our defenders, we're done for.
Yeah.
She's that good going forward. She's kind of like, you know what she's like? She's like Kachawi, Sakina Kachawi, or someone like from France, in the sense that they're great at getting forward and making those late runs that you want from your fullbacks. Yeah. And especially with a team like Spain, where they like to pass the ball around and make these little triangles and stuff like that. Her runs offer something completely different that backlines don't expect from Spain, which makes backlines have to react. And as a backline, you never want to react. You always want to be proactive and not reactive, right? But bringing her on straight away changed the dynamic for Spain. Number 1. So that's Olga. Number 2 was bringing on both Atenea, and Marta Cardona. Not one or the other, but both at the same time. Yeah. Which meant that you stretched Denmark's backline because you had 2 wingers on both flanks who are not only willing to take on their markers, but can do it with ease. Doesn't matter who they're up against, they'll do it. Yeah. And they can also make the runs that, again, the typical Spanish team that Wilder likes to field, the players that he likes to field don't make those runs. Yeah. Those 2 players do. And it's just now, for me, it's like, okay, because Wilder's so insistent on never playing them, whenever they do play, they never get found by their midfield because the midfield isn't looking for those runs because they're so used to playing the same little triangles and whatever to make Spain tick that they don't look for their runs, right? So that's something I'm hoping that he's actually working on in training. I doubt it, but, I'm hoping that maybe he's had an epiphany and it's just like hit him real hard. Like, you know what? I need to change something and this is the change I need to make. And then lastly, before I switch over to you, I want to talk quickly about Esther because everyone's giving a grief and saying Esther isn't scoring goals. Esther is the reason why the goal happened against Denmark. I want to reiterate that because if you watch the goal, how it happened, right? Her movement drew, I think if it's not 2, then it's 3 players from Denmark with her. She made like a weird sort of like in and then out run, and it drew the center backs with her, which left space for Olga Carmona to come bombing forward and then cross in for Marta Cardona. And Cardona was like, the only person she had to beat was her marker. She didn't have to worry about another center back coming in to cover. She just had to beat her marker, and that was it. And it's all because of Esther's movement. And I can't remember who was commentating. I'm blanking on who it was. Whoever was commentating, I think it was the ITV feed or was it BBC? I can't remember. But afterwards in the studio, they were talking about that. They were like, everyone's talking about the cross and the header and stuff like that, which is great, but watch her movement. And they were saying that her movement is different from Lucia Garcia's, and that's why she should start because she's giving, like, the way she drags back line with her because of her runs will now give that Barcelona midfield space to do what they do best. Whereas with Lucia Garcia, not only does she take 100 chances to score, I mean, no offense to her, but it's the facts. She takes 100 chances to score. It drives me up the wall. But her runs are not the same. Yeah. She doesn't know how to occupy the back line. And going forward, honestly, truly, she should be on the bench. And if you don't want to start Esther, let's be fair, because I'm a Real Madrid fan. I'm like Real Madrid biased, If you don't want to start Esther, there's other players like Claudia Pina. Yeah. And I'm going to say a name wrong, but I can never say her. I tried like a bunch of times to say her name and I couldn't get it. It's Amir Sarigi. Okay, that's the best.
That works.
That's the best I can do. But either one of those players can come on because they offer different runs from Lucia Garcia, and they offer the kind of runs that you want from a forward for Spain. Because I think a lot of people seem to expect that a forward for Spain should score a lot of goals, and that's not true. Even if you look at the men's side, right? The main focal point when they didn't do the whole false nine thing, but whenever they played with a striker, that person's role wasn't to score goals. Yes, it was to score goals, but it wasn't their main role. Their main role was to drag around the back line so that the midfield, the Barca midfield, Iniesta and Xavi could do their thing.
Yeah.
And that's similar to how the women's team play as well. You want to have a striker that does that gives those runs, that occupies the back line. And whether it's Esther or whether it's Claudia Pina, whoever it is, it just can't be Lucia Garcia, in my opinion.
Yeah,
switch it over to you.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. And it's kind of weird because I understand the pushback that some people have had about, like, you know, the typical Spain trope, you know, and talking about, you know, the parallels to the men's team and all of that. And I understand how normally analysis like that isn't great.
Yeah.
But Spain make it so hard. This is their problem. This is the way they play. I mean, the game against Germany scored 2 first-half goals and then was just like, okay, try to score against us. And they couldn't. Like, I still haven't been able to, this is a thing that gets on my nerves. I know I probably need to, like, pay for Y Scout or something, or find somebody who can give me access, because I want to find it and not readily available, like the numbers broken down, but I seriously want to know Spain's total number of touches in the box against Germany, because they had so many, they just would not kick the ball at the goal. Oh, yeah. And it was so frustrating to watch. I was like, it's kind of like you go through the waves of emotion. Like, at first you because, like, the build up to goals get you excited. And then when, you know, it all kind of crumbles, it's a letdown. And so then you get angry because you know not to trust it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, after the angry phase, you just start laughing. And at some point I got to that with them. It was like, this is just comical. Like, it's like somebody's trying to do this. It's like somebody has a controller with this team and it's just like playing around. Like, we're going to get the ball in the box. We're going to play around with it, but we're not actually going to kick the ball towards goal and actually even try to score. So it was like, it's just, and that's kind of been the thing with them. And this is why I think, like you said, you do need a center forward who's going to drag those defenders around so that you can find the space in order to take those shots. Because Spain clearly ain't going to take a shot unless it's a high XG percentage goal, like, chance. And, like, fine, if that's what you're going to be, then create that. You have the players that can create that. And that's why I've been calling for Athenia to start for so long, because she's direct. She runs, she beats players 1v1, and you do the cutback and you find it in space, or you take the shot on goal, curl far post or whatever. Like, you do, like, she's excellent at doing that. And so I wanted to see more of that. But yeah, I mean, Spain is, even without Pateas, still very, very talented. I've actually really enjoyed, this is the catch-22 of Spain. I've enjoyed watching Patria and Bonmati in midfield. Mm-hmm. They are excellent players. I love the movement, the passing. You know, they're constantly scanning the pitch, finding the passes, moving around to make sure that, because then you reset. That's the other thing about players, especially midfielders, that move around in space to space, is you don't just dump the ball off and stand there. You dump the ball off and then you change things, you move it. And so you create different angles at different times, and you're constantly forcing the defense to figure out, oh no, this is open. Okay, got to close that. Okay, no, this is open. And when you have them moving back and forth, you can play some really wonderful stuff and slide the ball through the line. It's just like that last piece of, like, kick the ball on the goal. This is why they really need somebody who's just like, that's their job.
Yeah.
Like, that's all they want to do is score goals. They don't care about the build-up play or nothing. When the ball gets within 3 yards of them, they're going to pounce on it and hit it towards goal with whatever they can. Leg, foot, knee, elbow, head, like, whatever it is. Like, I know elbow, whatever. All right, I understand the rules. I'm just saying, whatever it is, it's kind of like, and I hate to keep going back to the U.S. Women's National Team, and I'm going to stop, but I tweeted this, so I have to bring it up here. Is like, Spain need a Midge, because if you've been watching Midge Purse, she comes on as a sub, she's shooting. She ain't there to play no games. Like, Midge is like, I am taking shots at goal, and it works. Like, you have to be able to put the defense under pressure, and and force them to react to something. Yeah. And if you're just putting the ball in the box and moving it around, they'll form their wall, make sure they're not giving up a clear chance, and they can shift side to side. Like these are like Germany has a very good, like well-drilled defense. They're going to move side to side. Now, if you keep taking shots, you're going to force panic and a reaction, and then something else opens up, and maybe you get an early step, and you can play a simple through ball or do something like that, or find somebody else who has a clearer shot. Like you can do these things, and Spain is capable of doing these things, but that's what makes them frustrating to watch. And where you see so many of the parallels to that men's team, because they had a period where they were like, they dominated because they did all the passing, but they also had the sharp end. Yeah. Like all of a sudden it would all come together and the ball's in the back of the net. And you're like, how the hell did that happen? Like 30 passes around, moving the defense all over the place. And all of a sudden ping pong in the box, balls in the back of the net. Then they started frustrating the hell out of people because they lost that ability to put the ball in the net. And then it was just a lot of this passing around the box, enter the box, exit the box, pass it around, don't really get a chance. Or you try to cross it, cross goes over the bar, goal kick. Like you're not really testing the keeper or the defense in any way. And Spain really has to figure that out. And this is nothing new. This is stuff we said before the entire tournament. Like Spain is going to have to figure this out. Mateus has been historically the one, especially in her recent form, to be like, okay, I'm putting my foot through the ball. Like, or I'm making this darting direct run into the box right in front of goal, aiming for the penalty spot or whatever, where I'm going to be able to get a shot on goal. Somebody else needs to do that, or a couple other players need to do that and step up and do it. But overall, it's been okay for Spain. Yeah. Sometimes they've looked very good, but they still have, like, it's still hard to trust that they're going to be able to, like the Germany game, when they come up against opposition like that. Sometimes you just gotta take the chance. Whatever, you're not gonna get clear-cut chances against some of these defenses. Like Germany, too good for that. You're gonna have to try and rely on the skill of your players. You got very skillful players. Let them be skillful on the ball and take those chances at goal. Game's 90 minutes, it's okay.
Yeah, instead of trying to make them like the same little automated robot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh man, Spain. I think it's gonna be like that until like who knows how long. They're just gonna always do this to us. Anytime we think they might just change, it might just finally hit whoever their manager is. Like, hey, maybe if I did this, maybe if I tried that. But speaking of that, like I just remembered there was a chance against Denmark that Bon Marti had, where she was in the box and she turned right, and I was like, oh, she's gonna shoot, and then she didn't. She turned the other way and passed.
Yeah.
And I was like, why?
This is one of those things. That's what I'm talking about. Like it gets to a point where you're watching this team and it's just funny because you're like, what is wrong with, like, who are you like plugged into a controller somewhere? Like, are we being punked? Like, what is this? You do all of this and then you just nothing from, like, most teams are excited. You get the ball in that area. And I know, like, it's a style that they want and that they encourage, and they're very good at it. But if you're going to win games, goals tend to do those things. Yeah. And you're not the type of team that can rely on your defense to be able to keep clean sheets. And then, hopefully you earn a penalty somewhere and get out of there 1-0. That's not a consistent winning formula for Spain. So you do all the cool stuff, the good stuff. Yeah. So like for me, I'm not even one of those people because I hear it. They're so frustrating that some people, when they watch Spain, are just like, enough with all that passing around, just kick the ball at the goal. And I'm not even like that because I love the build-up play. But there has to be a point where enough is enough. How many through balls, how many entries into the box do you need? Like, yes, it may not be the perfect shooting opportunity where you're just clear 1v1 with the keeper. They're not going to get a lot of that anyway because teams are going to kind of sit back on them. So you're not going to get a ton where you get like 30 yards to play a through ball into, unless you get like a really high turnover or a turnover in midfield while you're back defending. So like, that's one of those things where it's likely not going to happen like that for you. So to me, I don't even want them to change the identity of how they play. Like, I think it's beautiful when they play it, because I do respect a lot more in the game than just the goals. I love the build-up play. I love the movement. I love the ball being on different pages and being able to create different angles. I love that. I love seeing the ball shift around to places where perhaps that space didn't seem like it was ever going to be occupied by anybody, but somebody saw it out the corner of their eye, and suddenly they've dragged the defense around where they can just lay off a nice little outside the boot, through ball, and somebody's running onto it in the box. I love that stuff. Like, to me, that's perfect. But the next thing, just do the next thing. Like, this is the thing for me. You did the hard part. Like that sort of build-up play is the hard part. Normally scoring the goal is the hardest part. Yeah. For me, Spain, you've done the hard part by this magnificent build-up play. Put your foot through the ball. Somebody has to just say, all right, cool, that's enough. This is the opportunity. This is the chance. We one more pass and we missed it. So, same old.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we'll ever get the answer to this, but I do wonder if they're specifically told not to take that riskier pass in training and by the coaching staff. I do wonder about that, because I'm like, it's not like the runs that they're, the flank players or whoever is making aren't unfamiliar to them, because, everyone talks about, Spain is trying to be like Barcelona or whatever, right? But with Barcelona, whether it's Graham Hansen, well, whether it was Lieke Martens before, they made similar kind of runs, and they were found by this Barcelona midfield that you currently have in Spain. So I'm thinking it must be a tactical thing that they're told not to do, which makes it even more puzzling, because you're like, okay, if you're trying to emulate Barcelona, why won't you let them be Barcelona?
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's not exactly one for one. Yes, it's been discussed ad nauseum about that, but the truth of the matter is you've got wingers who make the runs, who can do the runs. Mm-hmm. If you, for example, like if you're just playing a simple five-a-side, with your friends or whatever, and you realize the other team that you're playing against isn't tracking a particular kind of run, you'll probably go over to your friend and be like, hey, listen, when you have the ball and I'm over there, if you make that pass, I'm through.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, are they being told not to make the pass? And that's the thing, we'll probably never get the answer to that. But sometimes when you get to a point where you're like, okay, clearly the player can see the pass, but they're choosing to do the exact opposite. It must be a tactical thing. It must be a coaching thing that they be told that don't do this pass, do this pass instead. Yeah. And it's been drilled into them that they cannot make, I guess, the riskier pass or whatever, which to me is puzzling, because if you're facing a really deep bunker, you need to be a bit more creative. You need to take more risks.
Yeah.
And I guess you're afraid to get caught on the counter. But because of their high press, if they do those riskier passes, right, what they're doing is, again, we talk about pulling the backline out of shape. So with those riskier passes, they probably pulled that backline out of shape, which means that when they counter press, when they lose the ball, they should be able to recover the ball quicker than they do now, because right now all they're doing is just coming up and it's the same ball over and over and over again, and teams are prepared for it.
Yeah.
So why not take a chance? You're now going into the knockout stages of, it's win or go home. Mm-hmm. Take a chance. Let the players be the flair players that they can be. Like, I know that you're not sitting here and telling me that Patri Guerra cannot hit a diagonal.
Yeah.
That is not true. That's not factually true, because we've seen him do it over and over and over again for Barcelona. You're telling me that Mariona or Aitana can't hit those kind of passes, or kind of hit that like through balls on the seam to find a winger or to find a striker? No, because we know they can all do that. Heck, even Mapi Leon can do that. But you never even see an attempt a diagonal. It has to be a coaching thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on Vilda are not great. We talked about that in the preview. I think they're again in the category of coaches who seem to make things a lot more difficult than they need to be, particularly given the talent in the team. But yeah, I mean, and the other, I think you are correct. Like that whole, Spain is not Barcelona, Barcelona are not Spain thing is like overdone. And we talked about that in the preview as well. Like, this is not Spain's team or not the Barcelona team, because think about the players they rely on in that attack. Very few of them are Spanish, right? So like, you don't have those players. You don't have Oshuala running around out there. You don't have you don't have Lieke Martens. You don't have Caroline Graham Hansen. Like, you don't have the players on the wings that they normally have, but they do have talented players on the wings. And I agree with you. Like, that's one of the things that also, that whole Spain is not Barcelona thing. Barcelona are much more vertical. Yes, they do the excellent passing thing, but when they've got you out of position and they've timed to run perfectly, and they hit that diagonal, they hit that through ball. And it doesn't matter if it has to be a 30-yard through ball. If the space is there, they have the talent to play it. And it ain't just Pateas that can play it. So, like, yeah, she's a big miss. She's a huge miss. but you do have players who can scan the pitch and play those type of balls. They just need to be able to execute doing that. But again, this is not something that Vilda has historically done with this team. And we see the way that they play, they seem very committed to it. So to me, yeah, I think you asked the question, is it coaching? It has to be, because why else would you make those decisions?
Okay. All right. Well, that's enough about Spain, because we still have to talk about them in the knockout stages. Yeah. Let's move on to Denmark. Ugh, Denmark. Oh, Denmark is.
That's.
You know, when you see a team that you can clearly tell that they've got talent on both sides of the spectrum, but there's that missing middle piece of talent. Yeah. So when I say in the sense that they've got young talent, they've got older talent, but there's nothing in the middle.
Yeah.
That's Denmark.
Yeah.
That's Denmark. And I think, you know, people on social media were talking about it a lot. And, you know, obviously in the women's football, women's soccer circles, we've all discussed it, right? And everyone knows that the key player for Denmark is Pernille Harder, right? Mm-hmm. But she needs support. Yeah. And the problem right now is the only support she truly has, like, who is even close to her level, is 19 years old, by the name of Catherine. She's 19, which means that this was her first tournament. This is her first big minutes for her country. She's going to make mistakes because she's 19.
Yeah.
And the problem is there's no in between there. Like, you know, when you talk about, for example, Germany, right? Because they're playing, even England, same thing. They have talent on both sides. They have young talent, they have middle talent, and they have old talent. It's all there. You got to have all three stages to be able to truly compete at the highest level, right?
Yeah.
And Denmark have it on one side of the spectrum, the other side of the spectrum, but not in between. That's where it tripped them up. That's the honest truth. Like, if they had someone who's like 26, 27, who is, again, doesn't have to be the same level as Harder, but even like 75%, even 50%, just to give her some support, they could have done some damage.
Yeah. Yeah, it basically every single Denmark match basically devolved into Pernille Harder versus the world. And that was really it. Like, she was running, so I felt so bad for her. And her message, you know, after the tournament was all heartbreaking.
I hate reading those from players because it's so heartbreaking.
It is. It's just like, you don't have to do that. You really don't have to do that.
Like, if you want to go and just go on holiday and sulk the rest of the
day. Yeah, like, you don't have to apologize. You don't have to stage it. And we know it meant, we saw you on the pitch give everything. We know how much it meant to you. But yeah, I mean, to your point, like, it was very frustrating to watch. I love Pernille Harder, and it was one of those things where, like, there was an outside chance that tactic was going to work, but I mean, some of these teams are just too composed, too good to get beaten by one player, as excellent as that player may be. And, you know, you kind of knew that, like, Denmark was in trouble when and this is not a knock to Nadia Nadim, because she is a good player, but, like, when they're relying on her, like, as much as they were towards the end, like, it was like, that's like, and that goes to your point. I mean, she's 34 years old and just came back from a torn ACL. So, like, if that, like, you don't have anybody else, you have Nadia Nadim, or you have a 19-year-old, or like that's it. And that's the frustrating thing about the team. And, you know, it was tough. It was tough to watch. I still loved watching Pernille Harder. You talk about someone who's got that dog in her. Like, I absolutely. My thing for a while has been, like, especially watching Chelsea, like, angry Pernille Harder is one of my favorite football players in the world.
Like angry Ingrid Engen?
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, when she gets angry, like, you're gonna, like, that's what I love to see. So, like, her goal celebration when she scored and grabbed the camera, like, that was one of those great moments. But, you know, overall, like you said, the team just indicative of when you get any transition wrong, or maybe like a development wrong or something, like there's a skip that, like, there's a gap. And, you know, you talked about Germany having that at some point too. And this is kind of where Denmark is. And they were trying to rely on, like, super young, dynamic players, or no veterans. And without any in between, to be, like, just those solid players who have experience and can game manage a bit. And have had some experience, but still, you know, energetic enough to be able to do it throughout the course of an entire tournament. You do need those players in the team as well. And they just didn't have them. So as much as I was like, you know, love watching Pernille Harder, it was like, and really wanted to see Denmark go through, because they had a chance, right? They had a chance on the final day. Some results going. To me, it was like, it was fair. I don't think them moving on would have been honestly good for them. It definitely would have been good for Pernilla Harder because it would have just been more battles of her versus the world. You know, that Jon Snow meme where everybody's charging at her with like 500 horses.
It just got like a sword.
Yeah, it's like, that was her the entire time. So like, you don't need to do that anymore. Please just go home and rest.
Yeah. I will say for Denmark though, if they can get, Harder to stick around for another couple of years, they do have some good talent coming through. Mm-hmm. They really do. And I think it'll be cool if she could stick around and kind of help that transition, right?
Yeah.
Get those younger players into position where whenever she decides to then say, okay, I'm done with international football, she's left them in a good place. That'll be really cool to see, I think. And I hope that she sticks around long enough and, she stays healthy and all that kind of stuff to be able to see that transition through. So, yeah, like that's my hope for Denmark.
Like the mentality thing, she has it. And so if she can impart that on some of the younger players, they'll be good, going into the next couple, like maybe it may take a cycle or two, but if she can impart that into some of the players, or at least have one player take over that, then you're looking at a very strong Denmark team, because you do need that in tournaments like this. These things are grinds. It's hard to do. And so you do need a player who's just always up for that. And, I do hope that she's able to do that. And maybe just like Pop, right?
Yeah.
On, and then like maybe she has a future role again with a really young and exciting team that is nearing its prime, and she can come in and play a role for them, because she can kind of do the same thing too. Play a target, drop in the midfield. She can do something similar. So I would like to see that.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Okay. And then finally in Group B, we can switch over to Finland, who I don't have much to say to Finland. Like I was really like after that first 10, 15 minutes against Spain, it's like they checked out. It's like they completely checked out. And I was like, well, what do we like? I was so excited because I'm like, oh, they scored. Yes, let's go, Finland. Let's start causing some havoc in Group B. Give us something to be like, ooh, this group. But nah.
Yeah. Yes, but I also think like really hard group for them to make an impression. Like I almost think, talking about, England and them not really being tested much. I think if you like Austria was a good test for them, but I think if you have even like Austria and Finland in that group, you have kind of an interesting test, because they did play well, like throughout it defensively. Denmark only beat them 1-0, and it took a pretty late goal from Pernilla Harder. Germany, of course, got them 3-0, and you talked about that Spain game was interesting, right? That was interesting. Spain didn't quite look like they were going to do it, and the scoreline absolutely flatters them because they got a couple late goals. I think I said 4 headers. It was 3 headers and a penalty before. So
that's right.
I forgot about the pin, like in the 90+5th minute.
Time,
So it was a late one. So the scoreline kind of flatters them, but Finland scored in the first minute, and then it wasn't. They went into halftime 2-1, but Finland, it's not like they didn't have chances. They had a couple other chances, even though of course Spain dominated possession and a lot of the shots. They didn't get their goal until like 15 minutes before 15 minutes till the end of normal time. And so it was like you had that kind of hope. And that's why I felt like when you have a game that's going that well and you kind of have the opportunity to maybe do something, to end up with a 4-1 scoreline after all that work is a little demoralizing.
Yeah,
I think they probably got caught by that a little bit.
Yeah, and I think also just in terms of depth, they're one of the teams with the least depth.
Yeah, sure.
So I think the inability to be able to rotate a lot caught up with them in the end, especially in that final game against against Germany, where Germany just kind of swept them aside, really, really brushed them aside, like you're not even worth our time, kind of thing. I think they were by that final game, they were just done. I think they were exhausted mentally and physically, because they just didn't have the depth, right, to be able to freshen up things. And even if they brought on players, they weren't at the same level as their starting 11, right? So
exactly.
We figured they'd finish bottom of the group, and that's exactly what happened. So